Good afternoon, everybody. My name is George Belmontes. I am a member of the National Cybersecurity Student Association. I'm also on the advisory board. And today I was asked to take some time and speak to you guys on a topic. So what I ended up picking, or my topic today, is time management. I think time management is very important. I think that with a daily lifestyle, constantly working, students engaging in events, students networking, just a demanding schedule in general. We deal with a handful of things all at one time. So today I'm just going to take a moment and speak to you guys on just some tips that I've used, throughout my career path, throughout my educational career run, on what's helped me stay on track, stay on point, and just kind of what's helped me get to where I am today. So first of all, I'd like to thank the National Cybersecurity Student Association for giving me the opportunity of speaking to you before today. I also would like to just put a disclaimer out there that everything that I say today is my personal opinion, does not reflect what I do as far as employment, any other views, associations, organizations that I belong to. So just a quick disclaimer there. Time management, why is it important? We all have daily schedules, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever it may be. We also work weekends, full-time schedules. And for some of you guys out there, on top of working full-time, you're also perhaps going to school full-time as a student. You're going part-time as a student. It all depends. So, what's helped me? First, we have a calendar. So you can use, let's say, for instance, use Google to manage your calendar. In the calendar settings, you have a handful of options, everything from organizing calendar in color-coded methods. For me, what's helped me is, let's say, for instance, I have a something coming up this Saturday. Today's Monday. I know that I have to get something done, a certain time frame. The nice thing about Google is that you can set a handful of reminders for yourself. You can set up reminders to 4 days ahead of time, 3 days ahead of time. At least if you set up these constant reminders, you'll continuously get reminded and pushed and eager to finish that appointment or get ready for it. As far as the reminders are concerned, in Google, you can go ahead and launch Google or whatever calendar you use. Once you set up your appointment, what I've done is I usually send myself a reminder 4 days ahead of time, 3 days ahead of time. And let's say, for instance, educational-wise, we're trying to finish a paper by Sunday. It's due on Sunday. Let's say it's, for instance, 12 pages you have to write. That's pretty typical. Sometimes 10, sometimes 15. But if you know that you can fly through a handful of reading and you're a good reader, you can maintain the information. But 12 pages still seems a lot, especially when you're referencing. You want to rewrite it, you want to reread it, and finally you want to go ahead and submit something valuable. After all, you are paying for the time, the classes. It's your own personal investment. What I tend to do is time management. Currently I usually get out of work 5, 6, 7. It all depends on whatever time frame. But I have reminders to go ahead and let me know that I have to get some reading done. So let's say that we have paper due on Sunday, 12 pages. What I do is I at least knock out the reading Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If I knock out a handful of this reading, I can start outlining my paper, let's say Wednesday or even Thursday. When you start outlining the paper, it's very important. You need to start brainstorming early. One thing that I've learned early on is never wait to the last minute. You wait to the last minute, it's going to be very hard or dreadful to even finish this paper, meaning Saturday and Sunday. So if you can finish a handful of the reading and start outlining your paper, at least what I start doing Wednesday night, even Thursday, if I know I have a 10-page assignment, let's say 12-page assignment, what we need to do is what we need to do is actually, I got a question here. And before I continue on, I just want to let you guys know that if you do have questions, I'll go ahead and answer them right away. That way, at least we can go ahead and keep this interactive. I find that better in presentations, especially with events that I've gone to. So the question is, do you recommend one calendar or breaking up into multiple categories, specific calendars like personal, professional, school, etc.? This was from Jonathan Joyner. Thank you, Jonathan. As far as breaking up the calendar, it really depends on what applications you use. So, for instance, I have work calendar, and then I have my personal calendar. I don't integrate the both. I don't integrate both calendars just because it's important to keep those two separate. But at the same time, if you have a mobile app that allows you to see your work calendar and that send you reminders, that's great. If you are managing your personal schedule and you're actually managing, if you're actually, let's say, documenting what's due, for instance, you're taking 3 classes and you have things you need to post Wednesday, Thursday, and then you have to turn in major papers on the weekends. It's important that you go ahead and keep these separate. And the only reason I like to keep them separate is because if I see something coming from my personal calendar, if I see something coming from, I use Google. So if I see something coming from Google, a reminder, it's something that I know that I have to take care of. It's either going to be on a personal level or it's going to be educational. For the most part, I write reminders down on a piece of paper. It helps me. It helps me stay on track as well. Just minor notes. But you definitely want to go ahead and keep both calendars separate, especially if you're a current student and you are, let's say, looking for work, then obviously you just want to use one calendar. But if you're very busy, you're currently working a full-time job, demanding schedule, you come home, you're rushing, you need to get your work done, I like to separate it and do 2 calendars, and that's just because if I see a notification coming from either the application that I use for work or the application that I use for my personal lifestyle, I at least know right away what it means. It may work better for you if you do both of them. If you do both personal and business into one calendar, that's pretty much up to you. But the biggest thing here is that whichever way that you choose to whichever ways that you choose to manage your schedule, the best thing that you can do is color code it. So if you're going to use one calendar, just color code all of work, perhaps blue, and then important things obviously red. And your personal, you can maybe color code that in green, and then important things in, let's say, purple. It all depends. So reminders. Reminders are very important. The reason I like to get reminders is that today everybody is on a mobile device. Everybody is on a run, constant run. If you don't write something down, you're going to tend to forget it right away. Or you may miss it, and then later on you're going to question yourself as far as what was it that you had to get done, or what was it that you had to complete within the time frame. Last thing you want to do is miss appointments, miss calendar settings, whatever it may be. Important that you write it down right away. I like to carry a notepad with me. It's still old school. I like to carry a pen, paper, pencil. When you go to meetings or when you go in front of events, speakers, or whatever it may be, handful of people I've seen, they take laptops. Fine. But as a speaker, you don't know what that person's writing down. You don't know if that person's actually paying attention. You don't know if that person's actually browsing the internet. I find it better for myself. And not only that, if you have a handful of people doing that same, practicing that same method, using a laptop to go and write down notes per se, and you have multiple people doing this, it gets really noisy. You hear the chatter of the keys. So I still like to bring a pen and paper to events. I put it down on paper. Later on, I go ahead and retype it on my notes, and I just go ahead and organize my notes that way. You can use everything from your calendar again, or you can use OneNote to go ahead and address certain notes and document and categorize everything in your own format. When it comes to time, we also need to be aware of how long certain things takes us. So, for instance, there's this application called Egg Timer, I believe it is, or you can just use a regular stopwatch on Google. Go to Google, type in stop clock or stopwatch. What I like to do for myself is, with this reading, some people are slow readers, some people are very fast readers, some people like to skim and find keywords. Everybody learns differently. There are so many ways to learn. Visual, on our own, before a group. Everybody learns in their own format. which is great. But we have to pick and we have to use what's best for each individual, um, and what helps us get along faster. So let's say that we have, let's say today's Saturday, I need to turn in an assignment. I only have so many hours. So it's already noon Central Time. We have, before midnight, we have 12 hours. So if I grab that 12-hour window, let's say, and I need to write at least 4 pages today. Remember, this is a 10-page example. If I need to at least write 4 or 5 pages today, and this will give me an opportunity to write the other 4 or 5 pages tomorrow. If I use a timer, and this again is putting away your phone, turning off your phone, removing the battery, leaving it in your car, whatever it is. I think that we've been I think that became so involved with just personal devices in general that we tend to constantly look at our devices, constantly. It's a distraction. And for me, with the multiple things going on, we can easily get distracted. I easily get distracted. So I use other tips on not getting distracted. So I literally leave my car. Leave my phone in my car. I'll leave it in my desk. I'll turn it off. Put it in airplane mode. Whatever it is. If somebody knows that you're at school, at least somebody, your friend, whoever it may be, and if it's important, they can go ahead and email you. Email pops up. You can go ahead and reply that way. Versus constantly replying to text messages, family, friends, coworkers, whatever it may be. Now, if it's important, work demands that you have your phone on you, have your phone on you. Obviously, this is a general per situation. So back to the timer. What I've done is, after I read all the content, I know that I at least have to do a page of solid material, solid content. Original content. You want to cite your sources. Citing takes a while. Never wait till the last minute. Always do it while you're writing your paper. So the egg timer, at least I go ahead and kick off the egg timer, and I'm going to start doing laps. So let's say one page takes me 2 hours. Let's say it takes me 3 hours. At least that's giving me a time frame. Now I can go ahead and play with that math. If one page took me 2 or 3 hours, for this example, we're going to say 2 hours. I know that in 10 hours, I'll have 5 pages done. That, again, is reading the material, understanding material. So in 10 hours, you're going to get 5 pages of written content completed. That may be different. It may float around. You're going to take breaks, whatever it may be. So chop off another 2 hours, and you're actually completing 4 hours you're actually completing 4 pages in 10 hours. So it's giving me a rough estimate on what I can complete today. Tomorrow, I'll do the same thing. And if 10 hours took me 4 pages, if I completed four pages in 10 hours, tomorrow, let's say the assignment is due, I'll get up a little earlier, get up by 7 a.m., get up at 6, get up whenever you can. At least you know that you need 10 hours to complete the other 4 pages. So it gives you 4 additional hours. So you need 14 hours the following day to dedicate it to complete a solid assignment. So I like to do laps. If you can go ahead and create an Excel sheet and you document what took the most amount of time. Was it reading? Was it brainstorming? Was it reviewing content? Was it writing solid material? Was it rereading? Was it trying to understand? Was it trying to comprehend what the author was trying to say, for instance? If that's the case, write this on Excel. You can go ahead and create a spreadsheet. And I get real analytical with data just because it helps me stay on track. It helps me continue forward. It helps me with the initial goal. If you're spending the amount of resources to educate yourself, to get yourself involved in a program, it's very important that we try to do the best we can to be on top of the situation. Last thing we want to do is lax. And, I know it gets very hard. It gets very challenging. But I think that these minor ideas can help everybody, or you guys have even better ideas. So if you create an Excel spreadsheet, place a page marker, and then you put the amount of time it took you. Let's say you put 2 hours in that section. You can go ahead and set something up where it's going to give you a graph on how much time you're actually investing per that one assignment. And I do that for every single assignment. So every week is a new challenge. Every week is a new assignment. So what I do, my apologies, is I create the Excel sheet, set up the macros, modify the page to go ahead and give me a graph. So it's telling me exactly how much time I'm investing per section. By the time Friday, Saturday, Sunday comes, everybody that is going to school, or everybody that's in work projects, everybody that's doing something with any goal, it's a time to crunch, you know? So that way, now you can go and reanalyze that and find out where you have to invest the most amount of time. Let's see here. We got another question, actually by NCSA. When working with your team, whether at work or school, how important is communication as it pertains to managing time, and what steps should be taken when managing communication with your teams? So, communication is very important. First off, let's see here. If you don't communicate with the right hand, left hand, you guys maybe heard that before. You've heard it in many analogies that people tend to make. It's very important that you communicate, whether it's via email, instant message, some type of communication, verbal, whatever it may be. That way the team is on board. And this is going to be just a general example. You have a team of, let's say, 15 people, and everybody's assigned a certain task. Everybody has to come back to the table and basically report as far as what's been completed. If certain individuals are working on more or less a similar task, and somebody is, let's say, stronger at a certain point, and they run with a certain idea, but then again you're also tasked with a similar idea, and you guys are sitting there, somewhat overlapping work. By the time the day comes around, you guys are gonna have similar work. You guys are gonna have, and it's gonna be lack of communication. So what I tend to do is, if you're working on a project together, stand-ups work great. So for projects, we have stand-ups. What are stand-ups? Okay, so we're 15 of us on a team, 20 of us on a team, whatever it is. Again, everybody's very, very busy. But in the morning, you get a cup of coffee, you send a notification that tomorrow we're going to meet for whatever reason. Everybody stands up, we have a whiteboard, we write general ideas just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And these stand-ups can be 10 minutes, they can be 5 minutes, they can be 15 minutes. But we try to make them short, precise, and just to recap to see exactly where everybody is. Stand-up meetings, there's a handful of material, there's a handful of content on there that you guys can maybe Google, look up. Perhaps even YouTube has some videos on stand-ups. But they're very informal, very friendly, just quick. Explain what's going on. We're all recapping. This is where we are. This is where we need to be. This is where we're going to go. Very quick. Now, when it comes to a meeting that's going to be 30 minutes, an hour, obviously then you bring all of the content that you're working on and then you present there. Let's see here. To continue on, we have goals. I think with time management, again, it all depends what you want to get out of it. What's your primary goal? For instance, right now I am working on a master's in digital forensics and cyber investigations. My primary goal is to complete that degree. I'm currently working on my capstone. Currently working on a final. I'll be working on my capstone this time next year. So I'm halfway done with the master's. Is it a challenge? It's a big challenge. Yes, it is. But working full-time and going to school full-time, it's even harder. So, again, time management, what do you want out of it? What do you want out of it? Is it a goal? If it is a goal, set a timeline. I once heard a quote one time, not sure where it came from. Again, it's not mine. This, again, is part of that disclaimer. Is if you set a goal without a timeline, the goal is only a dream. I believe it went some way. So if the goal is only a dream, at what point in time do you intend to accomplish that dream? For me, what I've done in the last couple of years, even months, even weeks, I reassess the goal. For instance, the master's obviously is going to take some time. So this time next year I'll be working on my capstone. That's my goal. So I already have that timeline. I have a set timeline on when that's going to get completed. So every month or every 2 months I try to reassess that goal. Where did I lacks? Where can I improve? I look at my graphs. Where can I get rid of waste time? And And I know it's nitpicking, but then again, you're only nitpicking yourself. You're only criticizing yourself, and critique or criticizing yourself is a great thing. Ask your friends, ask your families if there's certain areas that you see that you can improve on. A lot of people don't take criticism great. Some people do. Some people acknowledge it. I think it's a good way for personal growth. So if you're getting criticized on something, that's fantastic. Use that, repackage it, and improve yourself. For goals that are more in a time frame of weekly, you can reassess these goals as well. This week my goal is to finish a final. Next week my goal is to whatever. The following week is, or let's say you're in class. The following week I have to do a paper and I have to go to work. It starts becoming very dreadful. If you look down a tunnel, there's so many little hurdles you have to jump. If you reassess this every week and you take tiny little bites, just little bites, it's way easier, and mentally you're actually removing that weight off your shoulders. Next thing you know, time flies. Time flies. You're already at the end of the tunnel. You see the light. You look back, and remember, with any time, with any goal that you set, you're the pilot. Only you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So if you lax on whatever goal you have accomplished, or whatever goal you're trying to accomplish, if you're taking it easy, it's only up to you to improve that. You can only improve it. If you look back, and here's another reason why I like to collect my own data. If I look back on these Excel spreadsheets that I've created for myself, pretty much critiquing myself. If I look back and I say, where can I improve? Can I chop off a couple more hours here? Am I taking too long to get from point A to point B? I know it may sound a little too fine granulated, but if you can go ahead and major corporations, let's say for instance, major corporations do this all the time. They always do assessments on where employees can improve, where they can contribute more for corporate development and personal growth. So they do, a handful of companies do time trials on what is considered waste, what is considered an area of window where it can be improved. So if we grab that concept, we apply it to ourselves, I think in the long run you're actually going to proceed and it's going to be beneficial. So again, time trials so far. Set your goals, set your reminders, your challenges. What are you experiencing? Color code your appointments. When you're using time clocks, time trials, find out how much time something takes you. Reanalyze that. Use that data to prepare yourself for the following week. If it's going to be a similar assignment or a similar task, at least this time you know that next week you have to invest, let's say, 30 hours into something. If you divide that across 7 days, 30 hours doesn't sound so bad. If you divide 30 hours across 3 days, now it's starting to get a little rough. Okay. Just going over my notes here. Long-term and short-term goals. As far as time management, what do you want to get out of it? Are you trying to manage your time just, for instance, on a monthly basis? Do you have short-term goals that you want to accomplish? Long-term goals. As far as the long-term goals, those can become a little dreadful, but again, we have to remain persistent. We have to remain positive. I think the most important thing that I've acquired from working with multiple teams, from working with multiple vendors, contractors, schools, you name it. Just from attending organizational events, attending learning seminars, anything and everything. For instance, today we're presenting on a group of individuals who are interested in some type of form of technology or cybersecurity. Considering that cybersecurity is a growing field, it's a very, very interesting field to be in. There's going to be long-term learning in this area. So if you decide that, it's tough learning, just remember that in cybersecurity, it's always going to be a learning path. Whenever you go to events, whenever you go to organizations, the network in general. Volunteer is another huge thing. Whenever you go anywhere, it's always important to, I learned, remain humble. There's always somebody that's going to know more. There's always somebody that's going to teach you something. Whenever you go to an event, always try to get something out of that event. Whether it's meeting new people, whether it's okay, they're going to talk about cyber threats. What are the biggest known cyber threats in today's point in time? If it's going to be, for instance, something on whatever topic of threats, take a notepad, write a lot of stuff down, go back, and obviously you want to research. I also tend to collect, introduce myself, get a handful of business cards, follow up with the vendors. Vendors, they love presenting on their topics. They have great topics, great information. That's another way of keeping on top of things, collecting material. Here's another one. At the end of the year, revise your long-term goals. 1 year goes very fast. Today we're here, tomorrow we're here again. In 1 year, if you think about the same concept, think about last year today. What were you doing last year today? Perhaps you're not going to remember the specific details, but if you just enrolled in school, you can at least tell yourself, okay, this time last year I just enrolled in school. That's so far away. I'm never going to get there. This is hard. This is discouraging. You see other people graduating. When am I going to get there? I've been through a handful of it, and we all experience it every single day. But then again, at the end of the year, if you look back and then you reanalyze what you accomplished in just 1 year, think about what you can do in just one more year. And if you apply that concept, and I learned this early on through a professor of mine, if you apply that one concept again, and you actually made it through that 1 year is extremely quick. If you apply that same concept the following year, today in just one more year, it just passed. So if you do that one more time again in just one more year, and you apply that, that mentality with your goals in just one more year. In just one more year, you're going to be 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and you're no longer looking at your goals as a big chunk, because that big chunk sometimes, again, it can be daunting to accomplish. And you're taking it in smaller bites. So I tend to do long-term goals. I've set long-term goals 5 years in advance. I've set goals 3 years ahead of time. And I do set goals periodically throughout the year, meaning 1 year increments. And revising is, and being very persistent is one way that you are going to accomplish such goal. And that's why I mentioned all this data, your calendars, your Excel spreadsheets, time clocks, keeping track of your waste time, keeping track of your positive time, keeping track of what's actually benefiting and helping you continue forward. Reanalyze that data, nitpick it, and repackage it. And then next thing you know, you'll see that you are better prepared and, of course, learning at a quicker rate. You're understanding that time in general is just going to go quick. And if you can just go ahead and reorganize your entire calendar, regardless of work or school, and you grab these smaller bites, it's going to be less daunting, and it's actually going to help you out in the long run. At least it's helped me out. And then for the sake of time, sake of presentation, here's another one. Write down your goals. You have to write them down. If you don't write them down, you're going to forget. They're going to go in the back of your mind. Write them down. If you write them down, at least if you start to reanalyze this data, you're going to go ahead and tell on how productive you are and on how you're actually managing your time. Again, they can see numbers and they can analyze it. Other people would look at a graph. Graphs look amazing, especially with the color. If you can go ahead and set something up in Excel and then you set up a graph, you're going to be able to tell where you're positive and where you're negative as far as time frames is concerned. Set up a pie chart. Keep it with you. As you input this data, it automatically updates. It's a great tool for me at least. And then final, just as far as hurdles, self-encouragement, constant learning, Always remain positive. This field is extremely interesting. Cybersecurity is very, very interesting, very new in a sense of how many individuals are now jumping on board and trying to experience the corporate environment, the job growth, explosive. Everybody sees it. Educational programs, a lot more schools are actually starting cyber programs, introducing them to the communities, and much more. So stay positive, try to learn. If you don't know something, I don't know everything. Take a handful of notes down, write it down, repackage yourself, repackage the time, set goals. Most importantly, just remain positive. Always remain positive. And always try to help out your team. Always try to be a person that can contribute some type of knowledge. Always try to be a person that wants to be involved. Always try to be a person that, regardless of, the hard cloud around us per se, just remain positive. Positive attitude is going to take you a very, very long way. For the sake of time, again, my name is George Belmontes. I'm in the advisory board for National Cybersecurity Student Association. I work full time, and I'm currently finishing a master's full time. Time management was my topic today, just for the fact that I think it's important. I think it's something that we have to acknowledge to help us continue forward. Other than that, this is just to wrap it up here. If there's any questions or comments, additional questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to answer. If not, I'll just go ahead and give it a moment here before we wrap this live session away. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Feel free to comment. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll go ahead and post this live. Feel free to critique. I am a fan of critiques. It's the only way we get better, huh? This again is George Belmontes. I appreciate everybody for logging in, and I look forward to everybody's comments. Thank you, and have yourself a great day.